When you're alone and life is making you lonely, you can always go downtown.
Downtown Albany was terrific.
Albany was one of the best downtowns in the state.
Troy had the best downtown in the area.
When you've got worries, all the noise and the hurry seems to help, I know. Downtown.
Troy on a Friday night or a Saturday afternoon, these sidewalks would be packed with people.
The big crime in Schenectady in those days was jaywalking. They used to have a cop during the rush hours. They had a cop on every corner.
Lunch hour on J Street was fantastic. It was just jammed. The sidewalks were packed.
When a noon hour came, it was like a parade of people.
Just listen to the music of the traffic in the city. Linger on the sidewalks where the neon lights are pretty. How can you lose?
Thursday night, you could not even walk on State Street. Everyone was downtown.
The lights are much brighter there. You can't forget all your troubles, forget all your cares. So go downtown where all the lights are bright.
You didn't come downtown unless you were dressed. It just had a lot more character than a mall does.
It was a real social event.
Downtown, waiting for you tonight.
All week long, you waited for Saturday night to come downtown and to meet people, to meet girls, and to meet guys from other schools and so on.
It was the meeting place. I don't know what else I can say. It was the hub.
Downtown, you're gonna be all right.
Downtown has a place in your heart. In the 40s, 50s, and 60s, downtown was where you shopped, met your friends, and let the hustle and bustle banish loneliness. Downtown is a touchstone to your memories. The twinkling Christmas lights, the smell of fresh roasted peanuts, the excitement of a Hollywood spectacle at a first-run movie house. In reality, local downtowns were already in a state of decay after World War II. The old city buildings were covered in generations of grime and grit. But there was still a feeling of warmth. Shopping was a social event. In comparison to today, that gritty era of downtown's golden age has the taste of comfort food. In its heyday, downtown Albany was bustling with excitement. Myers, Whitney's, the big department stores are gone. But Albany natives Margaret Eberle Keenan and Faye Harmon remember when Pearl Street was loaded with stores and busy with shoppers, especially on Thursday night.
Every shop was opened, and I'd get my hair done, and you'd have something to eat, and you would shop. We took the bus all the time, and then took the bus back home. Of course, you had to go to work the next day. But it was a thriving, busy place on Thursday night in downtown Albany.
You knew a lot of people, and it was really fun. It was the place to be. Today, no matter where you go, there are so many people that you don't know. I think the population must have increased a great deal since our day. But you would always run into friends from school or neighbors while you were downtown.
I loved going downtown. You would agree to meet friends, and then sometimes maybe you'd taken a movie. We always went to Peter's and we'd have grilled cheese sandwich, French fries, and Coke. That was our fare. We thought it was wonderful.
Downtown stores help you make memories and mark milestones in your life.
When I was going into 7th grade, I got my first real garter belt at Lodge's, along with about a half a dozen pair of lisle stockings that were horrible. They looked like oatmeal, and they were very heavy, made of cotton, and that was my first feeling of being really grown up. And this was taken in Woolworth's, where for 10 cents you could get a strip of 4 photos. You picked your favorite, and for 25 cents you had it colorized by hand, enlarged and framed. Wow. And this is what we call an Art Deco frame.
Some Albanians remember a time when downtown was known as Down Street. When your neighbors asked where you were going and you replied, Down Street, everyone knew what you were talking about. Downtown Albany had any number of stores to choose from. David's, Fla's, and Malfelder's for the women. McManus and Riley and Bonds for the men. Little Folks for the little folks. M. Solomon for furs. Honigsbaum's for hats. The Tie Shop for ties. Tom McCann and Morse for shoes. But the two most prominent stores, the Macy's and Gimbel's of Albany, were Myers and Whitney's.
When we walked into Myers, they had a fountain with perfume coming out, and invariably when I'd walk in, I'd stick my hand in and bless myself.
Whitney's was fantastic. They had a beauty parlor, they had a restaurant, and every department imaginable. They had elevator operators, and they would say lingerie, second floor, and housewares, basement, and they actually, waited on you. They were really wonderful people.
And they also had a Santa Claus?
And they had a Santa Claus. Every Christmas time, you bring your children down there, or grandchildren. You paid a little fee, and each child came away with a gift.
Like any American city, the holiday season was a great time to enjoy downtown. People mobbed the streets for the annual Whitney's Christmas Parade. Whitney's was a special place for Ellen Harmon.
I liked Whitney's for clothing, and I did buy my wedding dress at Whitney's in 1952, and I paid $69 for it, and I thought that was the most expensive dress I had ever bought. And for $19 extra, I got a chapel veil to go with it.
Ellen Harmon can retrace the milestones of her life with a short stroll down Pearl Street. Ellen bought her wedding dress at Whitney's. A few blocks to the north, she bought her first garter belt at this store. Welcome to B. Lodge & Company. Lodge's sells everything from underwear to the latest hip-hop fashions. Jack Yonley's family is the third to own this downtown Albany institution.
It was founded in 1813 as Sheldon's, yes, Sheldon's department store, and then it was actually incorporated as B. Lodge & Company in 1867. And we certainly do claim to be the oldest store in Albany. We're very proud of our store and its heritage.
In a vintage 1915 catalog, Lodge's advertised bathing suits for men and women, bloomers, corset covers, tights and stockings. The styles have changed since the horse and buggy days, but underwear is still a basic feature at B. Lodge & Company.
Underwear and socks are our two mainstays. That's what everybody comes in for. Everything is in its specific place. The ladies' underwear is on 3 tables in the back, and it's been the same place for the last 60 years. It's got to be there, because if I've got a customer who walks in and she goes right to that table and I moved it, I'm in trouble.
Years ago, B Lodge and most downtown merchants were known for service, and Jack Yonley says attentive service is still essential to his business.
It's just the way retailing used to be. It was a one-on-one relationship. You went in to buy something, everything was on the counters, and a salesperson would say, how can I help you? And you were here for specific items, and they knew your size, and they knew the color you wanted, and it was a very quick trip to be able to take it off the shelf and provide it for you. Did you try this one, hon?
No, that's just cover your feet too, though.
That's a foot sock, yeah. I've always been a downtown type of person. I think that it has character and it has uniqueness that is kind of missing in all of the different malls that all look the same, and we go like cattle. I will not have anybody wait at my register. When somebody comes in here and needs to be waited on, they're waited on. So you're going to say hi? How are you?
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Good.
Lodges is an interesting store because we have customers that come in here and they haven't been here for 20 or 30 years. And for them, they come in because they say it's like coming home, because they grew up here and their grandmother brought them in or their mother brought them in when they were a child, and they say, you haven't changed, the store is exactly the same, and we love coming back. And I have people that stop in 2 or 3 times a year that have continuously shopped here, but they always say it's like coming home.
Jack Yonley has remodeled space on the Columbia Street side of Lodges and leases to 4 tenants, including a shop selling Italian ice. He says Lodges is here to stay.
End of an era is when B Lodge and Company might be gone, but we're not looking at the end of an era. We're looking at the beginning of a new rebirth in downtown Albany.
Two doors down from B Lodges is another downtown survivor. Famous Shoes has been in the Smuckler family for 3 generations. The founder, Alex Smuckler, was a Russian immigrant who started out as a peddler, selling his wares from a pushcart. He ended up with 4 shoe stores in downtown Albany. Today, Alex's grandson, Art Smuckler, operates Famous Shoes. Smuckler told us there were 2 factors that contributed to the store's long life: good product and old-fashioned service.
Most people look at the store when they first walk in and they think, oh, gee, this is an old-fashioned shoe store, and indeed it is. I mean, if you look at some of the old pictures, you'll see from 1919, the store is identical. We have tons of shoes on many different floors.
Famous Shoes survived as store after store closed in downtown Albany in the 1960s and 1970s.
There are going out of business sales, and there are going out of business sales. But one going out of business sale that's perhaps more significant than any other is taking place right here in downtown Albany. It's at Lansing Brothers, an 89-year-old specialty and gift shop on North Pearl Street.
The suburban malls of the 1960s sounded the death knell for local downtowns. No matter how many free buses were provided for downtown shoppers, the congested inner-city business districts could not compete with the proliferation of parking at the plazas and malls. And how could a downtown Santa compete with a Santa who landed by helicopter at Latham Shopping Center? Or a Santa who parachuted into an open space next to Mohawk Mall? In Albany, there was another factor that discouraged retail business.
Downtown, in Albany's case specifically, took on a totally different role in the mindset of our illustrious Mayor Corning. Mayor Corning felt that downtown was a place to conduct hard currency business, not millinery shops and corset shops and what have you. And department stores were definitely on the hit list. He didn't want that. He wanted small stores to support large office buildings filled with people doing financial type business and work.
Although the big department stores left, two constants through the years have been state government and Jack's Oyster House. The restaurant was founded by Jack Rosenstein, who got his start at Keeler's, another famous downtown Albany restaurant. With a few years' experience under his belt, Jack struck out on his own.
As a matter of fact, he started just with oysters and clams. Okay. Just chucking oysters and clams, and then he put in a table, then he put in another table, and he gradually built it up.
Why did he want to be on State Street?
Because that's where all the activity was. Downtown Albany was terrific for any kind of business, coming from all the area, coming from Schenectady, coming from Troy. There was just so much activity, basically downtown, that to be a part of that was a great opportunity.
Jack's first restaurant was on Beaver Street, but moved to State Street in 1937, where Jack's sons, Arnold and Marvin, and grandson Brad, still provide old-fashioned service.
Well, our policy is that we consider the word no to be a swear word, and we don't allow that word in the restaurant. The answer is always yes, and if someone requests something that we don't have it, we explain that it might take a few more minutes and we'll run to the store and get it, so that we will never say no.
So if I come in here and ask for a peanut butter and jelly sandwich?
Well, that's actually going to be easy because Colson's, the store next door, they carry that, so it really wouldn't be long at all. Yeah.
Powerful politicians from both sides of the aisle appreciate that the folks at Jack's mind their own business.
I think one of the most valuable lessons that my grandfather taught me in spending time with him was to keep your mouth shut. And that's something that I've always learned, no matter what conversations are held inside the restaurant or any of the errands or favors that he had done in past years. He felt that he had really achieved success because he was able to not talk and basically keep confidential things to himself.
One of the prominent politicos who dined at Jack's was Governor Nelson Rockefeller.
He used to come when they opened up the legislature for the beginning of the new season.
You see, I don't know, but I've heard this about Rockefeller, who was this fabulously wealthy man, that he wasn't probably a good tipper. He never carried cash.
Well, they didn't have to bother with tips upstairs. It was a banquet, so there wasn't any money involved at all until after it was over.
A diplomatic answer is always hard.
No, that's true.
I know it's true. I read this article that William Kennedy wrote for Esquire about Jack's restaurant. I mean, and the thing that astounded me was Bill Kennedy writes that Jack, who shucked thousands of oysters, he didn't like oysters.
No, no, he never did. No, but that's what he was taught, you know, at a very young age, and he was so good at opening them that it was his pleasure to do it for everyone else.
He made a livelihood out of opening them for other people.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Aside from Jack's Oyster House, B. Lodge's clothing store, and famous shoes, another constant in downtown Albany has been the Palace Theater. Built as the Great Depression unfolded, the Palace became a place for people to escape life's problems.
Back in 1931, when this building was built, it was very common for there to be 5, 6, 7, 8 theaters in a downtown like Albany's downtown. In fact, right across the street here where there currently stands a Federal building was one of the Proctor's chains. And so this was very much an entertainment district, and that was what people did with their spare time. And it was their primary vehicle for socializing, seeing their neighbors, and so on and so forth, was to come to these entertainment districts and be amused for the afternoon, taking a movie, whatever. And of course, during the war period, they got a lot of core news, central news about what was happening overseas through the talkies that were presented in these movie palaces.
In more recent years, Bill Cosby has played the Palace, so has Jerry Seinfeld. Back in 1965, the Rolling Stones put on one of their first American shows at the Palace under the auspices of radio station WTRY.
Hi, this is Mick Jagger of the Rolling Stones. You're listening to Joe Condon's show on WTRY, Great 98.
The Times-Union reported that the Stones performed amid adenoidal and adolescent glee, delirium, pandemonium, and mass hysteria. The Knickerbocker News noted that 3 of the Stones' young female fans were arrested for rushing the stage in an effort to reach the band that the newspaper called a minor league version of the Beatles. In an earlier era, another famous band, Glenn Miller and his orchestra played the Palace for 4 days.
Many people remember coming here during those time periods, and they come into this facility, look around, and they recall and they remember exactly what it was when they were here with their sweetie, or bringing their children up and bringing them to the movies in the 40s and 50s, and you know, it's a great nostalgia piece for them.
Downtown Albany was a place to meet and shop, go to the movies, or take a train. The city's Union Station, where Ellen Harmon's dad worked as a dispatcher, is now home to Fleet Bank. Back in the 1940s, Union Station was where young men, including Mayor Erastus Corning, went off to war.
Many years ago, probably when I was about 15, I boarded a train with my mother and sister, and there was a great commotion outside the train. We saw photographers and all kinds of people milling about and wondered just what was going on. And it turned out, the next day my father told me that Mayor Corning had gone to war and had boarded that train.
When the war ended, Ellen Harmon and her best friend were in downtown Albany at the movies.
My girlfriend Margaret Clemens and I went to the Strand Theater knowing that the Japanese were about to surrender, but not exactly when. We sat through the movie and we kept thinking we heard noises, and we finally realized there were horns blowing outside. So we left, and when we got out, the war was over. And the street was streaming with people and horns blowing and people hugging and kissing and shouting, and it was just wonderful.
Downtown, you're gonna